I'm Mike, and this is Bob, and it's the Bob and Mike show for the Inventors Circle. And today we thought we'd try something a little bit different. We're going to be starting a series called Flights of Fancy, and it's really talking about the evolution, inventions regarding to human flight. And this is an ongoing thing that's still continuing, so it's just as relevant today as when it first started out with man's first observations of birds with Icarus and all those famous stories. So, what do you have to say, Bob?
Well, as inventors, we are very interested to look into historical facts and see what people did in order to progress. In this particular case, it's the aeronautics, it's the flight. The people have always dreamed to be able to fly, including Leonardo da Vinci already made lots of drawings and sketches as to how he would envisage how to fly and move like a bird. And he
Right.
basically copied biomimicry, copied everything from the birds that he could observe.
So,
Right?
we're just going to put up some slides and we'll be talking about that, and then we'll be doing a little reaction video. Fancy, part one. So, Bob, do you want to tell people about the Vimanas? I didn't actually know anything about this until you mentioned it.
Yeah, well, more than 3,000 years ago, India had lots of uh, basically appearances in the sky. Uh, and by the way, they've never been able to explain it, but they have it. They have given it names, and they actually have uh, uh, examples of it. And so the Vimanas were basically extraterrestrial uh, ships that were, basically coming into the sky and freaking people out. Really,
So,
that
we don't really know if it's myth or legend, but definitely there's some pretty cool designs here that look kind of realistic. Look very
Mhm.
much like SpaceX.
Yes, they are. They were very real. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, as
Oh,
far as we know, they got described into the Indian history. So
mm-hmm. Very interesting.
yeah.
Maybe we'll do an entire episode on
Hmm.
that, look into the history of this.
Hmm.
So, everybody who's an inventor, if you never heard of Leonardo da Vinci, Leonardo from the town of Vinci or
Vinci,
Da Vinci, one
Vinci.
of the greatest Renaissance painters of the 1500s, also a designer of war machines, and turned his hand to almost everything, didn't he?
Pretty well,
Painting,
yeah.
sculpting.
He was, you know, pretty broad scope of knowledge that he had and
Mm-hmm.
applied.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the greatest minds in human history, and he wasn't very liked for that reason.
And
I
often
think,
when you
yeah.
come up with a new idea, people can think you're a little bit crazy. I will say one thing. There's a book called 1434. It talks about the Chinese emperor's admiralty that came to Venice and shared lots of technology from printing to paper. There's some designs that look very similar to this. So
In the 1600s, right?
definitely, yes,
Yeah.
1434. So
Oh, 14.
probably about 80 or 90 years before Da Vinci. So the question has always arisen, did Da Vinci come up with his ideas wholly on his own, or were these reimaginings of other designs that he had saw from other people? But like most inventors, an invention isn't a completely abstract idea. I mean, many inventors you'll see tried to copy birds. So they had the
Yes.
example of the bird. Doesn't mean that they stole the idea of flight from a bird, but they definitely got impressions of how winged flight could be for a bird.
Yeah.
So this corkscrew idea, I think, may have been informed by Archimedes, because the Archimedes
Yes.
screw is very similar to
Hmm.
this and it moves
Hmm.
water. So
Hmm.
maybe there was some thought around that. We don't know him, but definitely people have tried to rebuild it and it didn't work. One of the things I do notice in the design, just looking at it, he has struts going down to the base. So my question is how that would turn if you have wires holding it down. So
So,
only Da Vinci would know. So
yes.
we'll get him on the line for you. You subscribe and like, we will get him on the line for you.
with interview
with
Aviation.
him. Yes,
There you
except
go.
my Italian's not very
There,
good. We'll get Amadeo here
there
for
you
the
go.
Italian. Well,
Next to the Wright brothers.
the right person, not the
Yes.
wrong brothers. The wrong brothers is a completely different episode.
We're gonna see the wrong brothers.
Yes, at some point we will see the wrong brothers. There's a video somebody made, the wrong brothers.
Yes.
We'll maybe do a reaction. This is incredible because this is not the first flight of a glider, the first powered flight of a glider.
Yes.
And the two bicycle mechanics. Previous to them, not even a month or two before them, there had been a top aeronautical engineer, Paul Fosbury, who basically had been given money by the Navy to create a plane. And he crashed on a canal, and it was called his folly, Fosbury's folly. So the result was he just did not have the will to continue. So for every one inventor that succeeds to some degree, there's probably hundreds that have the same problem. And it's in many instances, when it's a new industry, degrees and education does not necessarily indicate success.
I mean, yeah, for all the fame that those brothers acquired,
Wilbur and Orville,
yeah, how they only were actually in the air only for 1 minute and 46 seconds, I believe, which is kind of funny if you think about it.
And if you're Canadian and you've ever been or at Tim Hortons drive-through, or if you've ever gone to a Starbucks drive-through in the US, you know, you could be there for 5 to 10 minutes. So 1 minute, 40 seconds is not long enough to even get a coffee these days.
Exactly. You could have invented more planes.
Exactly. You could have taken off, landed a few times before you got your double or your your tall latte mocha latte.
Exactly.
Yeah. So here, just to truncate or to simplify, is a beautiful slide from Quest for Flight. We just acknowledge that this is not our slide, but look at the differences in designs from around the world, from biplanes to plates to bird shapes to Montgolfier brothers in the 1700s.
Well, this covers pretty well the whole history of how flight started.
Up to rigid design of wings, even Icarus is on there. So we're now going to look at a video, a very nice one, for the oddities of flight.
Yes.
It's not a video, but we're just going to be commenting on it because you know what? Reactions is everything. I think your reactions, like ours, is not so much one of pity or laughter per se, but to kind of question why and how people were planning and designing in the past.
Well, we understand that, of course, people making these early prototypes, we know that things can go wrong very quickly.
Yes.
And even though we have the respect for the inventors
and the courage,
but a lot of time and money went into those prototypes, 100% for sure. But you know, we do have to laugh with them sometimes. Because
I will say one thing that I don't notice now in the modern era, because the information is so easily accessible. You can look up what's worked and what hasn't. You can model success. Many of the designs similarly fail in very spectacular ways. So we'll take a look at that.
Unbelievable,
unbelievable. Thank you.
Okay, let's go.
Sharing and
yeah,
let's watch this video.
Well, let's do it.
So
let's do it and see.
Yeah, this is some of the early days pioneer show reels of yesteryear, and inventors trying to make things fly. Some fly, some don't.
People always dreamt of flying, and it's nothing new.
Well, that looks like an ice mixer. The tie is nice, and the white pants. He invented the exercise bike.
Yeah, I don't understand why people use a bicycle.
You know what? It was what was there. Like what else are you gonna use?
It doesn't go fast enough.
Oh, this is the one. Yeah. Oh, I love this. I love this one. And I don't know which fell further, the machine or his pride.
Yeah, exactly. Well, these wasn't hurt.
No. And you know, there's a nice lady there. She's admiring his handiwork. The French were quite revolutionary in their flying aircraft. Yeah.
Yes.
At least he has a parachute. Here's somebody who's figured things out. He's clearly, when would you think this is? The 20s or 30s? When do you think this is? Pretty
I think
amazing.
it's roughly around 20s most likely.
Wow, look at that. That's pretty
Mhm.
good.
It's a very odd shaped machine.
Yeah.
It's not very aerodynamic.
Well, it's so funny. Before there was no rules, right? I mean, that's the most amazing thing of this early pioneering flights,
Hmm.
like the drones today. Who knew what was going to
Exactly.
work? Some
Exactly.
things look like they're going to work, and then they don't.
Hmm.
The ornithopter in biomimicry with the birds. It's quite interesting. Very optimistic gentleman with a bad back.
I wonder what that was made of. Just regular
I'm
wood?
I'm guessing this is probably some kind of fabric stretched over a frame.
Is that what it is?
I wonder who knows. Canvas? Maybe he was a starving artist and
It
he
looks
decides,
heavy.
well, he claims it's not.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
it's very amazing. Oh,
I noticed back then nobody had a sponsor. That was an interesting thing. You
mhm.
would got sponsored by,
No, there were people that put money towards something, right?
look at this.
Uh-oh.
Oh, see.
Oops.
Don't
He's
anyone rush to
going
his safety. Help him.
go for a swim.
But basically didn't drown. Good for him. Oh, he's back. He's back.
No, now he's gonna run and fall off the cliff. It's
Well,
his favorite cliff.
if we were talking to modern inventors who are trying to design, what would we discourage somebody from trying something like this?
Why does he have to run so long? It's a run so long.
Oh, the sky car. This is one of my favorites. This is my own. The
Yes.
gentleman calls it a heliocopter. Uh, um,
That thing looks very heavy.
well, besides the heaviness, I'm quite surprised by the wing on, because we just so used to seeing the propeller of it. When you've already seen the solution, it makes it very hard to understand why
Think,
anyone would think this is going to work.
think back. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
so we've got to give them a little bit of fairness. I mean,
Oh, I admire people that are passionate about getting this something like this together and do it.
what you'll see here, which is totally amazing from a mechanical perspective, is that you've got rotational force and you've got up and down. So the gearing and the belting is quite ingenious.
It's quite a bit of engineering for sure.
And he has a name on it with a little banner. His son-in-law wasn't so keen to drive it.
The name is very.
Notice how the inventor walks away, standing far away from his own invention. Now, I would have said this is pre-air conditioning. This could have been a big hit.
Oh my goodness. The whole thing is shaking up and down.
It's amazing. Look at that. Who needs rodeo? No. The thing amazes me is that he didn't put the weight in the center of the vehicle.
Yeah.
What the reason we did that for?
It baffles me. How come it won't fly?
Well, no, we can sit here and laugh, but I mean, ingeniousness is there. Yeah. If you'd put some blades on that and maybe not had to go up and down like this, it's fascinating, the up and down motion.
Well, there is nothing wrong with progress, and progress only happens when people try things out.
But now we have the scientific method where you would design in the computer first, and using finite element analysis determine whether this is one of my absolute favorites. The gentleman with the woolly hat is actually a butcher by trade, but that doesn't deter him from trying to set himself on fire.
And then it explodes, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, again with a bicycle.
Another bicycle with a lot of things flopping around.
No. The thing, please, everyone, watch this incredible design, because his Herculean body is not enough. He has to put a strapper on his neck to pull back.
That's because of the high wind that is going to.
No, he uses it to flap the wings, as one does. Yeah, there we go. What could go wrong?
Let's push it a little.
I will say one thing. Even back then, there wasn't very many women willing to get involved in this. It's usually just gentlemen. Yeah. They could have
this. They could have sewn up the wings.
Better than yes. Yeah.
For her.
Okay, and I'm gonna light it. Okay, there we go. There we go. Oh, wow!
Why did he turn?
Because he lost his buzz. But I don't know if you saw that he had something padded in his pants to protect his bottom.
Oh my!
So he did have something to protect him. So he did have some safety.
But why is all the smoke?
Well, there's black powder rockets like from China.
Oh, is that what?
Well, boys and girls, that's the first installment of reaction. If you like that, tell us. We'll do. Wow, Bob, that was quite the thing with all those things, and we can laugh at what happened. But I'm just to throw up a picture here of the moon landing. I mean, let's not forget that that's 1969. 1969 from 1903.
Yeah.
That's
So that's on less than 70 years.
Yeah, one man's lifetime. You
progress.
could have seen a man shooting down on a thing and falling on his butt on a rocket and laughing, to people landing on the moon. So what does the future hold? Our next video will be covering a period from roughly World War I right up to the beginning of jet propulsion, right after, just a little bit just after the war, and mostly developed by the Germans, but some by the British, but we'll get into that. So join us then, and if you haven't liked or subscribed, we would really like you to consider join us on this journey. And the algorithms, they always appreciate a little bit of a like, and you can hit the notes bell if you want to be informed whenever we get our next video. We try to put it about weekly, and your input is really appreciated. Have a great day.
See you again the next time.
Bye.
Bye for now.